All right, everybody, Logan Alex, CPA here. So, for a little while now, billionaire shark Mark Cuban has been talking about his own stimulus idea. People have been talking about it for the past few days. People have been asking me for my quick take on it. So, in this video, I will give you my quick take on Cuban's idea. All right, he's talked about it before, but yesterday he tweeted some nice little summary tweets about it that I'm going to show you. Okay, just for background, Cuban is obviously a billionaire, an entrepreneur. Okay, but he's not in Congress. He's not part of any of that. Though AOC did retweet him, okay, for his tweet about this job program he was talking about in one of his tweets, and he has expressed openness to the idea of running for president. So let me put that out there as well. But you know, Mark has very likely been frustrated, right, about the current situation. He has expressed his frustration on Twitter and elsewhere about perceived inaction on Capitol Hill as well as in the White House. He tweeted on May 4th, our senators, members of Congress, and president ain't doing crap that I can tell other than looking for someone to blame. The reality is that we don't know what the right answers are, but it sure would be nice to be able to have a civil discussion about the options. Look, he's an entrepreneur, he's a businessman. He has many businesses that are contingent on consumer demand, not the least of which is owning a professional sports franchise, the NBA's Dallas Mavericks. So yesterday, to kind of summarize ideas that he's put out there previously, okay, Mark tweeted a series of tweets. It's time to face the fact that PPP, that's the Paycheck Protection Program loans, the forgivable loans for small businesses, didn't work. Great plan, difficult execution. No one's fault. The only thing that will save businesses is consumer demand. No amount of loans to businesses will save them or jobs if their customers aren't buying. Next tweet. It's time for trickle-up economics. We need a transitional Fed jobs program that trains and hires millions for a federal tracking, tracing, testing program, as well as for support for at-risk populations, including long-term care. We need to dent unemployment with stable jobs. Next. In addition, because this will take time, we need to consider an interim spending stimulus program. All 128 million households could get a $1,000 check every 2 weeks for the next 2 months that must be spent, and this is the key, within 10 days of receipt or it expires. This use-it-or-lose-it program will cost about $500 billion, but it will allow for demand for non-essential products and services to increase, hopefully keeping most businesses alive as we learn what the impact of reopening is on the spread and whether or not employment grows organically. He goes on to say, or tweet rather, there is certainly a lot of risk in this use-it-or-lose-it approach, a lot to be considered, but it could be patterned after Direct Express. Let me know your thoughts. All right, so I've seen this bandied around, right? It's $1,000 every 2 weeks. That's kind of the headline. But what Mark, obviously said is $1,000 every 2 weeks for the next 2 months. So let's say this magically started at the beginning of June and lasted through the end of July. So you get a $1,000 check, your household, right, will get a $1,000 check on Monday, June 1st, another one on June 15th, another one on the 29th, another $1,000 check on July 13th, and your last one on July 27th. All right, so that's $5,000 in total, spread out over 2 months, essentially, for every household, right? So he's not proposing something per person or per dependent or any of that. Just sounds like Mark is talking about a $1,000 check every 2 weeks per household for 2 months. So using his 128 million household figure, $5,000 times 128 million is 640 billion. So he was obviously rounding with his $500 billion figure, or maybe he was just assuming twice a week for 2 months equals 4 payments. I don't know. So that would only be 4,000. I don't know. Whatever. He's close enough. This is his idea. We can, he can play with it as he wants. And why he brings up Direct Express is he's saying, look, if you just give everybody money in their bank accounts, yeah, a lot of people will spend it and put it back into the economy because they have to and they're desperate. But on the other hand, a lot of people who may already have a financial cushion, they're just going to save it or use it to pay down debt or maybe throw it into their Webull account and get free stock. I don't know. Point is, a large portion of that money will not be spent if you just give it to people in their bank accounts, as we've done previously and we've seen. The facts are that not all of it will be put into the economy immediately to stimulate anything for a lot of that money that goes out. On the other hand, if you spend the money, right? You spend money at your local restaurant, right? The owner is going to use that money to pay his employees, who are going to go consume elsewhere in the local economy, and the cycle continues, and it's beautiful and all that. Devil, of course, is in the details. So Mark's saying, well, look, if we just load up this prepaid debit card, and essentially we give one to every household, and you can only spend the money, you can't take any of it out in an ATM, you can't save it, you can't invest it, and the money expires in 10 days, well, what are you going to do with it? You're going to spend it. But on what are you going to spend it is the kicker, right? So just real quick, here's my thoughts on this. Biggest pro of this is obviously it would force people to spend money, and that is what stimulates the economy. What they would spend it on, right, is the big question. Now, I don't know what people are going to spend it on for sure, but I think that's where the issues are. First of all, what are the people who are the problem? And I'm going to tell you who the problem people are. What are the problem people really going to spend money on right now? Who are the problem people? Well, first let's talk about who aren't the problem people. A lot of people, I know a lot of you watching this, really need money right now to pay for necessities. And you're going to spend any extra money you get on groceries and other essentials anyway. All right? You are not the problem. You would be pumping money back into the economy either way. You're going to spend it, whether you get a stimulus in your bank account or as a check, or whether you get one on a prepaid debit card like Mark is proposing. So you're not part of the problem here from a pumping money back into the economy standpoint. Who is the problem when it comes to hoarding stimulus money and not pumping it back into the economy? It's Mr. and Mrs. comfortably working from home right now, low six-figure income with 3 kids who got $3,900 last round of stimulus and probably just used it to dump into their 401k or something like that. All right? They didn't pump that money back into the economy, much less their local economy. These folks are the problem people. They're the problem when it comes to stimulus hoarding because they're not using it as the government intends. Now, at a micro level, I have no problem with individual people saving their stimulus money or investing it at a personal level. They have no moral obligation to spend it, all right? I'm just pointing out that saving it or investing it is not the goal of stimulus. And when someone does save or invest it rather than spending it in the economy, okay, they're not acting consistent with what the government wants people to do with the stimulus. Now, I have nothing wrong with their individual actions, but that's just the facts. So realistically, if we gave, a couple like this, right? This low six-figure, 3 kids, comfortably working from home. If we gave them $1,000 on June 1st, what are they going to spend it on in 10 freaking days? Like realistically, because 10 days is what Cuban tweeted. I mean, yeah, they could spend it on things that they would buy anyway, just so it doesn't expire. But that's defeating the purpose. So what additional things beyond their normal consumption could they possibly spend $1,000 on in 10 days under present circumstances? Because look, in much of the country, it's not like they can go anywhere or take a little weekend getaway or treat themselves to a nice dinner or get a fancy haircut. So what are they going to do? If you tell them you got to spend that money, they're probably not going to pump it back into the local economy right now because there's not much of a local economy to speak of. What they're going to do is they're going to buy crap. And what's the easiest place to buy crap? Especially if you aren't too thrilled about leaving your home in the midst of an airborne pandemic. Well, the easiest place to buy crap is Amazon. Amazon, which reported $75 billion in revenue in Q1. Amazon, who people are buying from now when they don't want to go to the store right now with the virus going around. Yes, Amazon has COVID-related expenses and all that, but my point is Amazon is going to come out just fine after Corona, or from Corona, all right? So, Mr. and Mrs. low six figures with 3 kids, they're not going to be pumping the money back into the local economy, back into small business. They're just going to receive their debit card, and essentially they're going to present it bound down to Bezos like this, right? I mean, do we really need to funnel government money essentially into Bezos' pocket right now? I don't think so. Now, if this were to happen, I wouldn't spend a dime on Bezos. I would do my best to spend the local economy, supporting small businesses, or maybe splurging a little on Cheez-Its or something, but that's not the reality of what the majority of the problem people will do. Government may as well write a big fat stimulus check payable to Jeffrey Preston Bezos. All right. And even after the country reopens further, if that happens soon, I think a lot of people will still be hesitant to leave their homes and go back to consumption as usual, to the point where they can spend an extra $1,000 in 10 days in their local economy. And another thing, let's be honest, this is just asking for mail theft, right? Sending out checks with someone else's name on it is one thing, and the government, discouraged that. They wanted people to get on direct deposit, even though they didn't make it easy, and they made it impossible for some people to get on direct deposit for the last stimulus, but that's another issue. But think about sending out prepaid debit cards, right? Unless they really get the logistics right here and have some kind of security measures in place, which would in itself probably be costly and time consuming. Okay, so maybe you get it and it's empty, and then you gotta log into some government portal and verify your identity, and that's when the money gets loaded. I mean, it's just going to be a lot, and there's going to be glitches, and if people were pissed off enough, and the government botched it enough, just getting direct deposits out and checks out, I can just imagine with the prepaid debit card, it will be difficult as well. Anyway, and I can just imagine the number of mail thieves, right, with a bunch of prepaid debit cards going around. So anyway, those are just a couple quick thoughts on Cuban's proposal. I'd love to know what you think about it, so let me know in the comments. Also, just real quick, there's a link in the description to a credit card. It's really a card to build your credit. It's a secured card. So you do have to put up a refundable security deposit equal to your credit line as low as $200, but there is no credit check on the card, so it doesn't matter if you have no credit or bad credit, because they don't check it anyway. And why I'm telling you about this particular card is it currently has a 0% introductory offer on purchases for the first 3 months for new accounts, okay? Does have an annual fee of $35, so please keep that in mind, all right? But a secured card can be a great way to build your credit if you have the money for that security deposit and are willing to put up with the annual fee. Now, just in complete disclosure here, there are other good secured cards out there for people with not so great credit that don't have an annual fee. Typically with these cards, they do check your credit, and they don't have the introductory 0% APR offer for 3 months. So there's pros and cons of both kinds. Please feel free to check out the link below for the card I mentioned. Also check out the other free stuff in the links below, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.